All right, people, it's time for us to learn how to pick the right stocks. And I get that DM and I get that question all the time. So what we're going to be doing is every week we're going to be going over different terms. And today's terminology we're going to go over is the PE ratio. You dig? If you're ready to get fancy, get sophisticated, make some more money, and understand what the hell you're doing, this is the video for you. PE ratio, let's get it.
He got all the data, not a doctor. Balenciaga, you twerking all on Instagram. You got problems with your father. You don't respect your mama. Now here comes all the drama. You worry about getting flued out and talking about this Prada, but can't make a lasagna.
What is good, world? It is your motherfucking boy, B-Session. You see I'm out here in my beautiful, dripped out Where's Waldo shirt. I'm coming to you swagging, okay? Today, we have our intelligence mind on. As always, I want to thank you for joining me. We are almost at the 70,000 subscriber mark. There's a high chance if you're watching this, we have actually passed it. I think we only have 20 more subs left to get to that, so I'm very excited. And then after that, it's on to 100K. So that means 70,000 of you have created profiles, accounts, YouTube channels, and actually subscribe to this channel. So I thank you and I appreciate you. And if you have joined the Discord, we are approaching the 30,000th member. I'm so grateful, man. Y'all are amazing. Let's keep running it up. To show you love and show you how much I support you, I've added the $5 option back to the Discord. So if you want to join, it is only $5 again. It's going to be lit. All right, so today we're going over the PE ratio. What is it? What does it mean? Why do we need it? Do we need it? What the hell's going on with it? I'm here to tell you my opinions of it. Again, this is my opinion of the PE ratio. Shout out to Peter Lynch for teaching us his thoughts on it. This is going to be a quick video just explaining some notes that I have and some points that I want you to know about the PE ratio. And is it worth it or not? All right, so first things first, what does PE ratio stand for? It stands for price to earnings. And according to my OG, Peter Lynch, for those of y'all who haven't read Peter Lynch's, and for those of y'all who haven't read Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch, it's a very fire book, not long at all. He talks about PE ratio in there. And in there he says, according to Peter Lynch, a company's PE and expected growth should be equal. So I want you to hear very carefully what he said, expected growth. So how does one calculate expected growth? How does one live off of expected growth? Because expected growth is all subjective based on a person's analysts or technicals that give it or a certain number or a certain profitability that it will reach. Okay, so remember, this shit is all subjective. And for the actual math equation, how you determine the PE ratio is the price of the actual stock itself divided by the EPS, which is the earnings per share. I'll pop it up here on the screen. You'll be able to see that. The formula is very simple to understand and how to come to. And if you're looking to find out what is the EPS or the earnings per share, you simply take the earnings divided by the number of shares. Now, there's two types of different PEs or PE ratios. We have the trailing PE and the forward PE. So based on my knowledge and all the stuff that I've read and listened to, the trailing PE seems to be using previous historic sales. So this takes your last between 1 year to last 4 to 5 years of sales and performance, and it will base the value of your stock and how many the price of it, the value of it, and how many shares are expected to be sold, how much each share is expected to be sold at. So this is using the past data. Again, your previous sales are going to help determine the trailing PE. One of the things that the trailing PE is used for, that most of us always see frequently, is to make the stocks look better. Okay, so this makes the stocks look better, makes them look more appealing. They'll have a PE ratio that's lower and make the buyer or the consumer think that, wow, this is going to be great because it's using last year's sales. It's using 5 years ago sales to determine what's going to happen for next year or what's happening currently. So I want y'all to take that into your head. When it goes to the trailing PE, it's always talking about previous sales. So get that in your mind. We'll think about previous when we think about trailing. Trailing means in the past. It's trailing what already has happened. Now, when we think about the other form of PE ratio, we have a forward PE. Okay, so in lack of better words, what the understanding that I took from it is this is calculated using the projected sales for a company in the next 12 months. So remember how the trailing PE used previous sales, previous data, things we've done in the past to predict what's happening in the future. This is actually going to take what they predicted to happen in the future and determine what the PE ratio is right here. So if you go ahead and look at my device, it's very amazing wallpaper, I know. We're going to go ahead to the finance folder, open up public, and you will see Amazon, right? And if you want to find out how to find a PE ratio, if it's important to you at all, you'll go to Amazon, you'll scroll down here. I'm using public. I go to company value. You'll see this is almost $2 trillion company. Amazon, 1.6 trillion. And you'll see the PE ratio is $55.79. Okay. And again, you could tap this right here. It gives you a brief summary of what's going on here. It shows how much the market is willing to pay for the stock. That is the PE ratio. So with the forward PE ratio, that is all foreshadowing. All it is a bunch of analysts. Essentially what the stock market is, it's a game of risk. So I'm only saying that because it's nothing definite. I used to think I didn't know what a PE ratio was. I thought it was like a statistic number that is certain, that cannot be changed or that will not change, or I didn't know it was controlled by so many different variables. So the forward PE is all foreshadowing and based on the expected potential growth of a stock. Okay, and here's some things we need to take into consideration. All of these companies are all in totally different sectors. What's difficult is that the PE ratios are not in different sectors. When you go to an app, such as this amazing app here, Public, or whatever you choose, Robinhood, you'll see the PE ratios are all the same, and it's not broken down by sector. But what you need to do is, as you look on the screen, these are all different sectors, and these are the PE ratios of each of the different sectors. So it doesn't tell you that when determining and you're picking what stock you want, because you have to know what a PE ratio is, and you have to also deem, is it valuable or not? For example, let me give you an example here. A high-end tech company like maybe Apple is going to have a higher PE ratio and or price per share than other stocks like retail or banking, like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, something like that, probably, because it depends on the investor. It depends on what the investor cares about. It depends on how much the investor is willing to spend on said stock. I don't know. We don't know how much people are willing to spend on Wells Fargo, but we know that people are willing to spend a shit ton on Apple. So remember, the PE ratio is always determined by what people are willing to spend the money on. And of course, we can have high PE ratios and low PE ratios. For high PE ratios, they can be good when innovation occurs. So if you see a high PE ratio on a company, I think the average they were saying based on Google is between 1 and 15 or 1 to 25. Those are the normal low-end PE ratios. But if you have a high-end innovation tech company, Apple, maybe Tesla, something like that, they're going to be making a ton of new products that you haven't seen before. Hence, electric cars. Tesla was the first one to do it, even though Nikola Tesla really did in the 1800s. Everything's capped now. But anyway, yeah. So if a company has a high innovation, just understand that they could also have a high PE ratio because they're constantly doing shit to change the game and move the game forward. So people are willing to spend more on those companies. Also, we can have a high PE ratio if we expect the projected sales to go up. If we expect the earnings to go up, the profits to go up, then the PE ratio will rise. And a high PE ratio could be a sign that the company is being overvalued. Again, to me, you're going to have to take in your sector, look in the sector, and the PE ratio is only valid if it's in comparison to other stocks. So take it, whatever stock you're comparing the PE ratio to, make sure it's another stock in the equal sector. They have similar things going on, maybe Li Auto and NIO, XPeng and Li Auto, stuff like that, things that are in the exact same sector. When you have a low PE, this can happen when the company is being oversold. Okay, so sometimes a company gets the hype, oh my goodness, everything is well, hence GameStop, AMC, all these other meme stocks. I guess even technically Doge would be considered one. The PE ratio may be lower if the stock in the company is oversold. So to me, this is my overall summary or thesis on the PE ratio. It's dope to know the terminology, to understand what I'm actually investing in, to know what goes into the PE ratio, why some are higher than others, what sectors are usually high. It's good to know that information. But what I think is it's very subjective, and the PE ratio will change. As the profits change, as the price of the stock change, the PE ratio just changes. And the only way to compare it is to compare it to something relevant to what the sector is. When comparing it to other companies, that's the only time this works. You won't be able to tell much if the companies are totally unrelated. Now, it is a good metric to see if the stock is overvalued or undervalued to other stocks, but it leaves out a lot of different factors, like when we use tip ranks to see the different things that go into the score, the fundamentals, the technical analysis, and so forth. And always remember, people, the book value can be manipulated by management, and that includes the estimates. So never take, myself personally, I'm not going to simply just pick a stock based off of PE ratio, because they can inflate the price that they see it going to. You know what happens if that stock doesn't reach that said price. I'd rather take it and put my money in ETFs or proven stocks that I know of. But that's today's lesson on PE ratio. I thought it was pretty dope. I'm grateful to know a little bit more about what I'm talking about. Makes me feel good inside, all right? I love you. I got some surprises coming for you Friday. If you're watching this, you're probably watching this today, August 19th, Thursday. But I do have some surprises coming for you tomorrow, Friday. So make sure you're ready and stay tuned for 6 p.m. We're going to drop something. And then again at 7:45 p.m. I go live and do giveaways. I love you. Hope you enjoyed today's video. What is PE ratio and how to pick stocks? You dig? My Where's Waldo shirt is looking fantastic. Y'all have a good one. Good day.